Free the Dream is back.
Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards. Mark Mason. Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
Oh my goodness, today's episode is a special one, my friend, because I have a very exciting announcement to make. Free the Dream is back, and it's better than ever. In fact, Stephanie and I just published or hosted a live stream where we shared all of the details about the Free the Dream workshop that we are hosting. Now, I recognize that there are a lot of you who have just tuned into the Cliff Ravenscraft Show over the last few years since the pandemic. And so you may not be familiar with Free the Dream. Well, it is a powerful message that my wife, Stephanie, and I have been sharing for many years. And it's all about rediscovering your ability to dream big dreams, overcoming limiting beliefs, and living the life you were meant to live in this world, and so much more. We used to host this as an annual conference. We got started in 2018. It grew in 2019. We had sold $22,000 in pre-ticket sales 1 year before Free the Dream 2020, and then something happened in the world. We had to shut down live events for a while. And so we haven't been talking about Free the Dream very much in these past few years. I'm going to share with you the recording of the live streamed announcement we made to the Free the Dream family. It has all of the details about what the Free the Dream message is, how the Free the Dream workshop experience will differ from the conferences of the past, what message is going to be shared there, what sessions, who is it that should come to this, all of that and more right here, right now. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Cliff Ravenscraft here.
I'm Stephanie Ravenscraft.
And we are super excited to bring to you this very special announcement. Free the Dream is back. Stephanie, are you excited about this?
I am excited about this. I'm very excited about this.
We wanted to create a live stream to introduce what Free the Dream is all about and who we are first and foremost. So I know a lot of people watching this already know all about who we are, but I would imagine if I were to put this on the sales page for the Free the Dream workshop over at freethedreamworkshop.com, there's going to be a handful of people who may have been told about the event and they have no idea who we are. So Stephanie, who are you?
Who am I? I'm Stephanie Ravenscraft. I have spent a good portion of the last 23 years as a stay-at-home mom and a partner in Ravenscraft Enterprises with my husband. I have been involved in multiple podcasts in the last 17 years. And as we prepare our last child to head off to college, I am ready to get I'm ready to get into working into what my next chapter looks like. And this is the beginning of that for me.
Awesome. I am Cliff Ravenscraft, her husband. We've been married for over 26 years now?
Yep.
We have 3 adult children, young adult children. We also have been in business together since 2008, full-time, self-employed. We started off with a really rocky foundation financially in our business, not knowing what to do after me leaving a lifetime of being an employee, and then transitioning over to the mindset of a business owner, which was not an easy transition. There was a lot of beliefs that I had to overcome. And that first year, full-time, self-employed, worked around the clock, hardly ever took any time off whatsoever. and landed myself in the hospital after making only $11,000 net income for 1 full year invested, and almost died while I was in that hospital after that first full year of full-time self-employment. But that was one of the greatest experiences in my life because it really woke me up to the idea that there's got to be a different way. There's no way I'm going back after tasting what it feels like to call my own shots, to do the work that I feel most passionate about doing in this world. There's no way I'm going back to somebody else creating my schedule. I've experienced way too much of this freedom, and I happen to know there's got to be a way to make this more financially doable. And so I began an investment and a journey in personal and professional development, which has radically transformed our life. Since then, Stephanie and I have done this business together. We've generated many millions of dollars in revenue through one-on-one coaching, paid mastermind groups, live events, through online courses, you name it, we've done it. Over the past 17 years, we've had the most wildest experience of our life, and it just seems to exponentially get wilder and crazier every single year, filled with the unknown. So that's a little bit about who we are. You think that handles it?
I think that covers it.
All right. So I want to talk about Free the Dream. What exactly is Free the Dream all about? If you were to describe it in your own words, and I know we're going to go bullet point by bullet point in just a moment, but in conversation, somebody came up to you and said, Stephanie, what's this Free the Dream thing that you and your husband do? How would you say that just off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I would say that Free the Dream is a place where you can come and find the way to free your dreams, to come away with a mindset that breaks you of the conditioning and the programming that you have experienced throughout your life to think the way that you do. And not only will you learn why you think the way that you do, you will learn how to change the way that you think. And when you do that, you can find and change and reach your dreams.
And for me, the way that I would describe it, and this would only make sense to people who are way down the rabbit hole of personal and professional development, I would say it's Stephanie and I's version of Unleash the Power Within, a multi-day event with Tony Robbins that will radically help you see the world from a completely different perspective. It'll give you a different foundation for you to build your life on. And that foundation is all about beliefs and thoughts and the way that you feel, living life in response to what happens instead of in reaction to what happens, living life with intentionality rather than by default triggered mechanisms inside of you. What we want to do is we want to talk about some of the ways that will help you understand what Free the Dream is all about. And so first and foremost, we help people unlock the power of imagination and dreams. Stephanie, I know you've heard me at Free the Dream talk about the boy's life quote, where we've been taught to act our age and to grow up and be responsible. But when we were children, we were dreamers. We were imaginative. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you want to share about any idea related to the idea of the fact that we've lost our ability to dream?
Well, I don't think we lost it. I think it was stolen from us. But that's a whole other rabbit hole that we don't need to go down right now. But for me, due to circumstances and events in my life, I was forced to grow up early. So it wasn't so much that I lost my dream. It was that I never really had the chance to dream. And there were times in my life that, I was 10, 11, 12 years old and, needed to act like a little adult. This is one of the fun things that my kids will say about me. They'll say, my mom is so childlike and can act like a kid and have fun and be silly and be herself and all that. And why do you do that? Well, because I never had the opportunity to do it when I was a kid. So I kind of take it and I just switched it. So while events and circumstances stole it from me when I was a kid, I have reclaimed it. Now it is my desire to help other people reclaim it also.
I love that. And for me, I think about, I don't know when I had lost touch with my ability to dream, But what I do recognize is when I had been working in the family business for my mom and dad, who owned an insurance agency that was started by my grandfather in 1937, and I was next in line to take it over. I had been working there for, at the time, 10 years when Stephanie and I started podcasting as a hobby about television shows. By the third episode of putting content out into the world about our favorite television show at the time, Lost, we had 27,000 people listen to that episode. After our third week in podcasting, that eventually grew to over 60,000 people. We launched other television show podcasts. We were reaching hundreds of thousands of people around the world. People began to ask us questions related to some of the stories that we were sharing from our personal lives, and we began to launch other podcasts about business, about life, about marriage, about family, about faith, about everything under the sun. We launched shows. In fact, as of today, we have, between the two of us, 49 different podcast shows and over 4,700 podcast episodes. So we love creating content. But back then, we were just getting started. And here we were, this married couple in Northern Kentucky that nobody knew about. And hundreds of thousands of people are tuning in for hours every week. And they were emailing us these questions that were deep and meaningful. I was an associate pastor at the time outside of my work as an insurance agent. I had done that for a decade. And the questions and the conversations that we were able to have with this community were of greater depth than I had experienced in the entire 10 years of traditional full-time ministry. And so I began to have this dream. What would life be like if instead of taking over the family business and being the owner of this insurance agency in this community, what would life be like if I did this content creation, speaking publicly, encouraging others? What if that's what I did for a living? And I will tell you, I didn't even tell Stephanie about that dream. I didn't tell anyone about that dream. In fact, I felt ashamed. I felt guilt about having that dream. How irresponsible am I? Do you know how much job security you have? This was back in 2007 at the height of this dream. We were coming on a financial crisis in 2008. I was in the industry where we knew it was coming. People were already being laid off left and right. And here I am. I want to go pursue my hobby? Come on, be responsible. This is what I'm talking about. If you've ever had a dream of doing something and doing those things that are in full alignment with what you feel most called to do in this world, but you've ever felt there's no way I can do it, whatever, this is what we're talking about, losing our ability to dream. So we're going to unlock the power of your imagination and reconnect you to your ability to dream the dreams you had when you were a kid, to dream the dreams that you have been hiding away and tucking under the covers, and to dream even bigger, newer dreams when you really realize that you can do anything you want in this world. That's a part of the Free the Dream message. Another one is empowering yourself to live the life you desire. Stephanie, does that resonate with you? Is there anything you want to say about that phrase?
Does it resonate with me? Yes, because I live a life that I desire.
Did you always?
I didn't. No, I lived a life that others desired. For me, it was learning and accepting that it is healthy to set boundaries and that the word no is magical. That today I can live a life that I desire and I live a life that I've created. There's very few things that are more fulfilling to me than the fact that I'm living the life that I want.
I love that. And it ties in straight to this next thing. And Stephanie has her own personal brand called Free to Thrive. She also has a podcast called Thriving Mosaic. You can find her podcast, by the way, over at thrivingmosaic.com. or StephanieRavenscraft.com, either place. But Stephanie's all about helping women break free from anything that's holding them back. And I don't know if you can see what's on the screen there, Stephanie, but this one should get you charged up about how you came to the place where you live your own life. Tell me what it means for you. And you watch Stephanie light up when she talks about this one. What does it mean to break free from conformity, Stephanie?
I'm telling you, Is there a certain story you want me to say here?
You can say anything you want.
I was created to be unique, and I was created to be Stephanie Ravenscraft. And to have to conform myself to anybody else's mold or desire for how I should live was not why I was created. There is no one that can convince me otherwise, even though I spent the first 3 decades of my life living that way.
Yeah. You mentioned, is there a specific story? And one does pop up for me. When you and I got married in 1996, everything was just all hunky and dory and all this other stuff. And about 3 or 4 months into it, I feel this call in my life. It's like, you know what? I feel like I want to be in service to others. I want to devote my life in service to encouraging others through the experience of just the full-blown acceptance of life and what a gift it is. I want to help people connect with what life has to offer. And at the time, I would have put that and did put it in the language. I feel called to be a minister, to be a pastor, to be of service to others with my life. And today I very much am that, but not in any way the traditional way that I thought at the time. But at the time, we were a part of this local congregational gathering, and we had a pastor, and he says, Cliff, I think you should come in and talk to the church board. I did. They interviewed me. They're like, yes, you are meant to be a pastor. We're going to put you into some courses. We're going to put you into Nazarene Bible College. We want you to be a pastor. And that meant, Stephanie, that all of a sudden there's this role called pastor's wife. Tell me about the conformity or the mold there and what our pastors at the time said to you.
At the time I was 19, I said, I'm not a pastor's wife. I'm not made to be a pastor's wife. It was through a lot of prayer and counseling that with my pastor that I learned that I had, signed on to be your wife. And so then if you were called to be a pastor, then I guess I was a pastor's wife. But I said, no, I'm not made to be a pastor's wife. I can't stand on that pedestal. I don't want the criticism and the eyes always on me, and this form of perfection and purity that goes against everything I think in my soul that I am meant to be in the world. And Keith Rainey told me at 19 years old that if I didn't think that I fit the mold, to break the mold. And I've been crushing that sucker ever since.
She obliterated it. There is no putting that thing together. One of the things I love is the idea of this Japanese art where they take a broken vase and they will glue it together, but they will highlight the imperfections of where the cracks are. You can't do that with Stephanie's mold.
I put that thing through a wood chipper and it didn't survive.
I love it. Stephanie's been breaking free from conformity, and she wants to help others do the same. That's what Free the Dream is about. It's also about moving beyond fear and self-sabotage. One of my favorite things that we did at Unleash the Power Within event that Stephanie and I attended many years ago from Tony Robbins was to walk on fire. You're not going to do that at the Free the Dream events, at least anytime soon, and because we don't have the insurance for that. The whole idea, the metaphor of these burning, hot, glowing orange coals and walking across those, not running across them, walking slowly but swiftly, but with momentum across these coals. That was such an incredible metaphor of every experience of life of, wow, I've never done this before. Will I get hurt? Am I going to be burned? There's other people who have done this, but they seem to have made it. I've heard horror stories of a handful of people who didn't make it without getting burned. I've heard, but then again, they didn't follow the instructions, or they really did some things without thinking about it. They were focused on things. They stopped halfway through the middle. And I'm like, this metaphor of just moving beyond fear, putting yourself in a state of mind and moving forward, and then not going back. The thing I loved about the whole metaphor of this fire walk that Stephanie and I did at Tony Robbins was once you're halfway into the process, you're not stopping and turning around. You've got the momentum. So this self-sabotage of going back to the other starting line and just being paralyzed by that fear, that's a part of the Free the Dream message.
If you're halfway through and you turn around to go back, you've covered the same amount of hot coals as you would have if you finished.
Exactly. And so you're already on the hot coals. Just keep the momentum going, move forward, and keep your eyes on the target of where you're going, the destination. The other thing we do with Free the Dream is we are all about overcoming limiting beliefs. I am a firm believer that the results that we get in our life are because of the actions we have taken. Now, you might argue that there are certain things that are outside of our control, and my actions didn't lead to this, but I have this scenario. We could go deeper into Free the Dream workshop to explain to you how your actions, without maybe you even being aware of it, may have still led to some of those results. But even still, a majority of even what you would consider to be your results in life, financially, the way your relationship is with your spouse or the relationship with your kids, the relationship with your health and fitness, your relationship with a lot of things, most of them are the result of the actions you've taken. The actions we take in any given moment in time are determined by how we are feeling in the moment. And how we are feeling in the moment is determined by what we think. And more importantly, by what we habitually think, which is called a belief. Because a belief is nothing more than a thought that you keep on thinking. A belief is nothing more than a thought that you emotionally have attached to and you feel certain it is true. And the problem is that a majority of our beliefs that we have adopted throughout our lifetime were adopted in the first 7 years of our life before we were critically thinking about what it is we're choosing to believe. We just soaked in everything into our subconscious programmed mind about what the world is by the things our parents said, the things that our teachers said, the things that our religious leaders said, and our experiences and our peers. And so there's so much stored inside of our subconscious mind that are beliefs that are operating every feeling we have when approached with every situation and circumstance that comes on our way. And what we would like to do at Free the Dream, and what we do, is help people break free from the beliefs that are actually placing a limit on what you're able to achieve.
Not only overcoming, but for some people, just identifying them is a big thing. I think that in my experience, I've talked to people who say things as certain as a fact, when in fact it is a limiting belief, but they don't know that. They believe that it's a fact. So sometimes just identifying your limiting beliefs can be, well, then you can work towards overcoming them.
Yeah. And Stephanie and I do a bunch of one-on-one coaching with individuals. And I know in my coaching sessions, there's oftentimes somebody will say something, and I typically will write it down. I've got a live transcript often going while the conversation is happening because I want to make sure I get the exact wording of what somebody says. And then I'll hold up a mirror, and what I mean by that is I will repeat back to them. I said, "Did you know that you said this?" And I'll say word for word what they said. They said, "Well, that's not what I said." And I'm like, "Well, actually, let me pull up the transcript and show you. Word for word, this is what you said." "Whoa, I said that?" I said, "Yes, you did." "Well, I don't believe that." I said, "You don't consciously believe it up here when you're critically thinking about those words, it's strung together, but subconsciously, your life is operated by the fact that your subconscious programming does believe that, and that's why you're not able to do this." There are some tools and techniques and strategies we teach at workshops at Free the Dream, and we will teach at our workshop on how you can become aware of your limiting beliefs, like left and right. It's amazing how easy it is to uncover these things, and also how simple the process is for eliminating them and replacing them with empowering alternative beliefs. All right, next up, another thing that Free the Dream is all about is building authentic, encouraging relationships. Now, this could be at the conference or at the workshop or whatever live events we do with Free the Dream. We're all about building those relationships there. But what we're talking about is when you leave the event, are the relationships that you have with others authentic, and are they encouraging? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. What are the thought patterns? What are the habitual thoughts? What are the habitual emotions of the people you spend the most time with? Are they encouraging you? If not, it's time to upgrade your peer group. And we talk about how to do that. And we talk about how sometimes that means changing the people you're with. Sometimes that means changing who you are being in the midst of those people so that you can call forth out of them better aspects of who they are. Also, building relationships that are authentic and not necessarily bending to the expectations of others. Do you want to speak to that one, Stephanie?
Bending to the expectations of others is just not a fulfilling way to live. When you're constantly worried about what everyone else thinks or what everyone else expects, you are not free to be yourself. You're not free to think for yourself, and you're not free to act for yourself because you're so concerned about what everyone else wants. This is a big one for me, is that a lot of time we actually get caught living under unspoken expectations, where whether it's a parent or a spouse or a friend or a sibling or a coworker, they have expectations of you, but those have never been communicated. And you can never fulfill an unspoken expectation. You will fail every time. If you break up with the expectations of others, you don't really have to worry about that. That's on them, not on you.
The one thing that occurs to me as I think about authentic relationships is, to be authentic, you have to know who you are. What I discovered is, for a long time, I thought that I knew who I was, but I actually discovered that I wasn't really who I am. I am some version of amalgamation of what everybody else thinks that I ought to be. I'm the accumulation of the beliefs that this certain Christian group of people think about God. And so if I want to be in fellowship and relationship with these, I've agreed to this set of beliefs. And so I've conformed who I am to, I am these beliefs. And if there's this group of people, it says, listen, you have to behave and act and say, do these things and avoid saying these kind of words and avoid going to these kind of places and avoid hanging out with these kind of people. And so all of a sudden I'm doing that to maintain those relationships that I desire so much, when in reality, that's not
You're
really
the only one maintaining them.
Well, in many cases, exactly.
So in 2012, I had a radical transformation, but one of the things that I did that year was I made a list of things that other people said I was, such as unkind, cold-hearted. There were others, but those are the two that like really were at the top of the list. When my list was complete, I burned it, because that's not who I am. That was someone's opinion of me based on their reaction, which is based on who they are, not who I am. Did you follow that?
I did. Absolutely.
Okay.
I love that you burned the list.
I did. I burned it
This is
because
not me.
I'm not those things. And I started to spend time in prayer and meditation to find out who I am and who God says that I am. And that's the Stephanie that's been walking the planet since 2012.
And it has been an awesome Stephanie, way more refreshing and amazing. And I was in love with the Stephanie before, but mostly because the Stephanie before had done a
That's exactly what you wanted her to be.
She was exactly what I wanted. And I remember Stephanie saying, it's like, gosh, my biggest concern coming back from this transformational experience in 2012 was, is Cliff going to still love me if I don't do the things that he expects?
I didn't conform.
If I didn't conform to his ideas about what it meant to be a wife and a mother and the way that I show it is like, and you know what? It was a little jarring at first, but wow, to see my wife experience so much freedom and to see her whole, I'd never want the version that put Stephanie in the box ever again. I love the authentic, encouraging relationship that we have today. All right.
That's right. Thank
Another thing that is a part of Free the Dream is understanding how your mind, your brain, and not necessarily that those two are the same, by the way. A little hint as to some in-depth training that we'll talk about, but how your mind works and how to use your mind for your own advantage. You've probably heard things about your conscious mind. You've probably heard about your subconscious mind. You may have even heard about superconscious mind or Christ consciousness or our connection to God. There's a lot of different names for it. But these are things that we are going to go into great depth in at Free the Dream workshop that, and I'm starting to get ahead of myself, what's different from what we've done at the conferences of the past. But there are so many different layers of understanding how your mind works. And this is stuff I cannot believe they did not teach us this in school. Me, personally, I used to weigh about 100 pounds more than what I weigh right now. And after I learned how my brain works, after I learned what I will teach in just one session at this Free the Dream workshop, I lost over 100 pounds of body fat and put on about 20 to 30 pounds of pure muscle mass. I was able to get myself to consistently stay motivated to working out 6 days a week. It's just getting up early in the morning without an alarm is a non-issue. There's this thing called the power of suggestion. We're going to go into depth about this training. It'll be the same thing that I do in my one-on-one coaching clients when clients tell me, say, Cliff, I've had an entire lifetime where I've had this habit, this addiction, this thing, and I desire to finally be over with it. And once I confirm that it truly is something they want to change, I then teach them a few things about how our mind works and how to use it to your advantage. And boom, instantly, life transformed. And so really what Free the Dream is all about, it's creating change that lasts a lifetime. This isn't something where you come to an event, you get all warm and fuzzy, and then you go back to life as usual within a couple of weeks. This is real life change. And then finally, I'll say this. It's about increasing self-awareness and consciousness. At Free the Dream Workshop, we're going to go into this angle very deep. We're going to figure out, who are you? How do you feel if I were to tell you that you are not who you think you are? That you are not your body? That you are not your mind? You are not your thoughts? You are not your beliefs? What if I were to tell you that you are a divine, perfect, spiritual being here on this earth having a human experience in a vehicle known as your body? All right, so that I'll give you just a little bit of a glimpse, but we are going to help you raise your level of self-awareness of who you really are and how powerful you truly are. That is very much about Free the Dream. So, Stephanie, we got a question that has come in over and over again since we put the workshop page out. How will the workshop experience differ from the previous Free the Dream conferences? We hosted this in 2018, 2019 as a conference, full-blown conference. In your own words, how would you describe the difference between the workshop?
Well, I'm going to say that the workshop is more intimate. There will be a greater level of connect with Cliff and I and with other people because of the limited number. And we're working on more breakout sessions and more chances to work through the content rather than just take in the content.
The way that I would describe how the workshop experience is going to be different from previous conference experiences of Free the Dream is I first want to tell you about what Free the Dream conference was, what it was like, what was the conference all about. The conference was everything about the message that we've already talked about, and we're going to continue to talk about. It was a 2.5-day event. There were a total of 16 speakers, or actually 19 if you consider the fact that our 3 children interviewed in a panel session for one of the sessions. So a total of 19 speakers who spoke during a total of 23 different 45-minute to 60-minute sessions. 23 sessions, 19 speakers over 2.5 days. And Free the Dream 2018, Free the Dream 2019, the conference, it was a production. It was a show. It had elements of workshop in it. There was one full session that was a workshop. Now, for those of you who were at Free the Dream 2018 and Free the Dream 2019, if you remember that one workshop session where you took everything you learned from the 6 core talks that I gave, and then during the 7th talk that I gave, we did the workshop session, and you answered 42 questions about the number one dream you most wanted. And by the end of that workshop, you had your entire plan of exactly how to get and create exactly what you want in life. That was one workshop that was in this bigger show. But imagine this workshop is going to be all that one session. So when I talk about it being production, when I talk about it being a show, Stephanie and I have always created content, whether it's podcasts, whether it's these live streams, whether it is live events of any nature. There are 4 elements that must be a part of it. It's got to be entertaining to keep your attention. It must be educational, so it's worth your time. And there's got to be some level of encouragement that provides hope, and it's got to inspire you to action. If we can't hit all 4 of those, there's no reason for Stephanie and I to bother you, asking for your attention. But there was a very heavy emphasis on entertainment. And we invested $65,000 for Free the Dream 2018, over $70,000 for Free the Dream 2019. We hired a television film crew, multiple camera guys, multiple camera angles, a director, professional sound team, so it had the highest quality audio. And just to give you a feel of what the conference was for those who have not attended it, check out this video.
I have followed Cliff's content for a while now, and when I heard that he was going to put on Free the Dream Conference, I really wanted to come. I am leaving today inspired, encouraged to do the things that God has created me to do in this world.
Had a lot of dreams over the years, and this conference has really helped me uncover those. Some of them are deep, and some of them made me cry. Every single day got better and better, and I feel more and more inspired, and I laughed more, and I got more relaxed, and I got more comfortable with the fact that I even have dreams.
It seems like our culture is conditioned to think it's completely normal to feel overwhelmed, exhausted, stressed, and depressed almost all of the time. It's not only accepted, but it's almost expected of us.
Couldn't have come at a better time, because I have a lot of limiting beliefs that Cliff's talks have helped me kind of work through, and realize that I can be as successful as my brain will allow me to be. And Free the Dream has allowed me to kind of break down some of those barriers that I didn't even realize I had.
It's just been so encouraging to be in an environment where other people have been experiencing the same exact thing, and it's been such a relief.
The way that we relate to the stuff of our life is actually what starts to create our intentions and our motivations.
I know already what I need to do when it comes to marketing, but there's other things that were stopping me from actually executing on that and building the business that I wanted to online. So what I've gotten from this event is how I can reprogram how I think to take the actions that I desire and I want.
Why don't we have that abundant life? An abundance of money will not cure a poverty of soul.
So if you have a dream, that's there for a reason. It's on the inside of you. You need to come to Free the Dream and just have that pulled out of you. And if you already know what it is, it's just going to help it grow and multiply.
Alrighty, so that's Free the Dream. Wow, I got goosebumps just watching that video. Ah, man. What memories that brings back. Of course, Free the Dream 2020 was well underway as far as planning was concerned, and we had already sold over $20,000 in ticket sales to Free the Dream 2020, and something happened in the world. There is this global pandemic that shut the world down and also our ability to host these conferences. But even before COVID shut down Free the Dream 2020, Stephanie and I, leaving Free the Dream 2019, already had in our heart that we wanted to approach Free the Dream different, that we wanted to move more towards a workshop format. And here are some of the reasons why. So, Stephanie, you've already mentioned this, but a more intimate and personal experience. We're looking at limiting. No, we're not looking at limiting. We have decided. The word decide, C-I-D, is the root word in Latin, which means to kill. It's the same as homicide and pesticide. So we decided, we put out of our head any idea of any other outcome than a limit. Now, this is going to be shocking to some of you. 30 attendees. That is it. That is all that can attend the Free the Dream workshop, because we want a more intimate and personal experience. So this is going to give us, of course, deeper connections between myself and Stephanie. At Free the Dream 2018, I was able to invest about 15 minutes minimum with every single attendee over the course of 3 days or 2.5 days of Free the Dream. And I was only able to do that because a good number of those people signed up for our VIP day. And that was, we got a lot of that out with an extra day that was tacked on there. When it came to Free the Dream 2019, I got to tell you, there's a little part of me that was really bummed that there were a handful of attendees who invested heavily, came to this event, went through the entire weekend, and I did not once have a single opportunity to shake their hand and thank them for coming and having a meaningful conversation. Now, I realize that can't be possible, and with larger conferences and the idea that this might have grown at some point to a stadium event. But we definitely know the power of deep connections when Stephanie and I can get to know who these people are, what's going on, what questions do they have about what they've heard from the stage, or in the workshop settings, what they've heard in this session as we're right there ground level with them teaching this material. The next one, more focus on building community and connection among attendees. Now, we did a really good job, I think, at Free the Dream Conference. Our production team put together opportunities. We chose to include lunches and meals, which we're doing the same with the workshop, by the way. We're bringing that aspect over to it. But the opportunity to have more than just 3 deep, meaningful conversation connecting opportunities, this is the entire workshop is going to be that. Then there's going to be more time for individualized attention and coaching. So this means there's going to be a higher potential for lasting change and transformation. Every session is going to be Q&A. Every session is, hey, I've got a question before you move on to the next point. This is going to be in-depth, and it's going to be such a great opportunity for more personalized breakouts and exercises. And exercises there will be. Matter of fact, you're going to come to this event, you'll have your workbook, but there will be actual exercises that you'll sit down and for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and we may send you out for maybe even 45 minutes and have you go to a place, be by yourself, which will be possible because there's only going to be 30 of us, and this venue that we have will allow for this spread out place for people to go and sit and journal for a little bit or do an exercise.
When I went to the conference that changed my life in 2012, this was something that they did that was, I believe, why that content was life-changing for me. Because after every deep session, we broke and you spent 45 minutes to an hour journaling or in prayer and meditation or whatever it was that you needed to work through what it was that had been shared during that session. I think that when you have the chance to internalize it right away like that, that it can stick better.
One of the things that I did not put in our rundown is what will we cover? What topics will we cover during Free the Dream? We know what we taught at Free the Dream Conference, and there's going to be elements of that. So for those of you who have been to Free the Dream 2018 and 19 or either of those events, will there be some crossover? Yes. Will you get a lot of new material? Absolutely. And the stuff that was at the original conference, the level of depth that we will go into will make it like brand new material to you. Now, with that being said, we have not finalized the topics, but I'm going to read off real quickly here. Understanding why we do what we do. Breaking the habit of being yourself, which, by the way, is also the name of a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. An entire session on who am I and why am I here? You might be shocked at what you will answer to that question. Healing and setting free your inner child. Discovering the true dream inside of you that will lead you to the fulfillment of life that you desire. Overcoming imposter syndrome. Eliminating the fear of what others think about you. Step-by-step formula for how to achieve any goal. How to rewrite the rules in your life so that you are guaranteed to win at life. How to think and grow rich. What they never taught us in school about how your brain works. The law of attraction, woo-woo, or a path to a better life. The number one practice that will transform everything. Meditation and scientifically how it works. And once you discover this, while you'll never struggle with meditation and prayer ever again, and it will be a daily practice for you because you'll understand the power that it has in your daily life. And there's this one other talk, the seat of awareness, or becoming the observer. And there's so much more that's coming to this. So yeah, I just wanted to share. We haven't finalized what those session titles are going to be, but all of that material is going to show up into this workshop. Who should attend the Free the Dream workshop? I want to speak real quickly to the business owners who struggle with limiting beliefs that keep you from achieving your financial abundance and abundance of time. I was somebody who needed Free the Dream workshop. I absolutely needed the Free the Dream message in 2008 during my first year of business. I mentioned earlier, I worked 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 months and never took one day off. I had all sorts of limiting beliefs about you have to work hard for money. The more you hate what you do and more difficult it is, the more you should earn. And I was having a problem because I didn't hate what I did and what I was doing was easy. And so I didn't think I should earn money. And so I turned people's money down. People begged me, Cliff, let me pay you. And I refused. There's all sorts of stuff that we're going to help business owners uncover. Why is it that I am consistently finding myself hitting the same revenue income year after year after year? It seems like I'm always working the same amount of hours, if not more. And every time I actually find some way to build more income and work less, I'm just waiting for the next shoe to drop because it always does. We're going to talk all about that for the business owners. Then there are the entrepreneurs, or people who are making the transition to start a little something on the side. Our economy in the world is changing, and a lot more people are going to find that, you know what, I've got to make it my own way in this world. I got to take what I've been doing for the last 15, 20 years and find a way to do it without the day job that I had depended on. If you're an entrepreneur, brand new to this world of self-employment, chances are you're going to find that you, like most of us, will suffer from something called imposter syndrome or feelings of unworthiness, and that you'll struggle to find what is your unique value. You're like, how am I going to stand out from all of these people? Well, first of all, that we're going to teach you how to understand that you are so incredibly powerful that nobody on this world could ever compete with who you are. We're going to teach you how to create something called your inventory of value. So you'll never question your self-worth. You'll still have imposter syndrome, but only because you're going to continue to take on new things that are beyond what you've ever done before. The imposter syndrome is going to come up over and over again, but the techniques of how to overcome it, you'll learn that in this workshop. There's going to be individuals who have experienced trauma and who need to heal and rediscover their true selves. Stephanie, do you want to mention for this for just a moment? I know this one will resonate deeply with you, and you'll talk a great deal about your story.
A great deal. Okay.
Well, as much as you did, as much as you opened up at Free the Dream 2019, I would imagine you'll share at least that level of detail.
Yeah. I have a story of sexual abuse, and we all have our own type of trauma. I think that we live in a world that doesn't help us heal from that trauma. In a lot of ways, we wear it like a cloak, and it is supposed to separate us from the world. And that is not a healthy place to be. I want to help people break free from their trauma and move forward in who they were created to be.
Not a lot of people know this about my story. I've recently started opening up about it over the last 3 years, and it's been since Free the Dream 2018, Free the Dream 2019. But when I was a child, my biological dad, he was a drug addict and an alcoholic from the time I was a kid until the day he died in 2015. And I was very close to him all throughout my life. And in my early childhood, I had almost repressed these memories, and they finally came out, and I healed from them. But there was a time when my dad was in a room with a bunch of his friends, and they were doing all sorts of drugs. And I was a little toddler, and I just wanted to go outside and play. And I had one of my dad's friends hold a sharp knife to my neck and tell me that if I walked one more step closer to the door, that he would slit my throat. And just to give you some of the experiences, I've seen guns held to people's heads. There was some trauma that I experienced as a child that for a long time shaped how I viewed the world. It was only within the last 3.5 years that some of that stuff came to the surface, and I dealt with it in a pretty incredibly powerful way and have come to some healing. And it's really set me free in how I interact and engage in the world and the relationships that I have with myself, with my wife, with my kids, with my mom and my dad, who is my stepdad, adopted me as an adult. So there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about trauma, and both Stephanie and I have a great deal of experience in having trauma in our lives. And we also have a great deal of experience in healing from that trauma. We think that if that's something that resonates with you, you'll get a lot of value out of this workshop. Also, anyone who wants to break free from the expectations of others and create a life based upon your own desires and dreams. If you want to create your life, you're going to have to discover how to break free from the fear of what other people are going to think about what it is you want to create. You're going to have to break free from what people will think about you and what you say and what you do. And if that's something that could be beneficial, you would be a great person to come. And then anyone who wants to raise their level of consciousness, who wants to raise their level of fulfillment and happiness and joy and peace in this world, and actually do so in such a way that has nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account and how well your business is doing or all this other stuff. And then, Stephanie, there's one other target audience. And of course, this workshop is for everyone. It really is. But there are those moms out there who have devoted most of their lives putting the needs of others well above their own. Can you speak to that audience for just a moment?
We are just conditioned as moms that everybody else's needs come first. But what I was learning in living that life was that I was running out of fuel. I had nothing to give because nobody was building back into me, and neither was I. I spent all of my 30s learning how to put myself first. It is amazing that when I started taking care of myself, the level of energy and want to that I had to want to serve those around me. I saw a meme on social media the other day from Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Papa Bear's dinner was too hot. Baby Bear's was just right. And Mom's was cold. And I've never got that more. It just makes sense now. Learning to put yourself first is actually more beneficial to the people around you than to continue to put them first and leave yourself with nothing.
Yeah. Now you have a feeling of who Stephanie and I are. What is Free the Dream all about? How is Free the Dream workshop different from the conference experience? What kind of topics will we be covering? who should attend this event? There's only one last question, and that is, where is this event being held? We're creating this piece of content right here. I'm thinking this is going to be available somewhere on the sales page. And so the answer to that question is all over, potentially all around the world. Stephanie and I see a day where we're hosting this thing throughout Europe, throughout South America, all throughout the United States, globally, all the time for the next decade of our lives. That would be our dream. But because there is a limit of only 30 attendees, make sure that you register and reserve your seat today. Well, there you go, my friend. And I am certain after hearing that conversation, you understand why Stephanie and I are so excited about bringing Free the Dream back, and specifically about this upcoming Free the Dream workshop and the opportunity to share this life-transforming, life-changing experience with you. We intentionally did not mention the specific date and location of this very first brand new version of Free the Dream workshop in that recorded conversation because we plan to use portions or even the whole video of the live stream on the sales page over at freethedreamworkshop.com. And of course, it's going to have all of the information there. With that being said, in this audio podcast that I am publishing right at the end of February 2023, I want to let you know that this very first Free the Dream workshop experience is happening on April 13th and 14th, 2023. And it will be held in our hometown of Hebron, Kentucky. That's northern Kentucky, just 15 minutes outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. If you've ever been to the Cincinnati, northern Kentucky airport, that literally is in our backyard, within 5 miles from our home and within 3 miles of the location where this first workshop will be. Now, this is only 6 weeks away from when we are publishing this podcast episode. So if you're listening to this and you sense any resonance or excitement inside of you as you hear about this, we encourage you to take the leap and register for this workshop today at freethedreamworkshop.com. Our time together in this workshop experience will be small, intimate, and incredibly transformative. And we do not want to miss out on this opportunity to connect with you at such a deep level. There are only 30 spots available by design, and we truly believe that the people who are meant to be there, and you know who you are, you will feel called to join us. If you can make it to this very first Free the Dream workshop experience, it will be a special event that you will never forget for the rest of your life. If you are hearing this, however, months or years later after we've published this, simply go to our website, freethedreamworkshop.com, and simply look at the next date and location for the Free the Dream workshop. Either way, if you're ready to break free from the limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, or anything else that has been holding you back from living the life you feel most called to live in this world, or to do the work you feel most called to do in this world, if you're ready to step into your true potential and live the life of your dreams, we invite you right now, go to freethedreamworkshop.com and register today. We look forward to seeing you there.
Mindset Answer Man.